Hey folks, this is Bailey from Dank Wargaming, and welcome to Firefight, Road to Adepticon 2026. Today we're doing a how to build video of the Kings of War Firefight Nightstalker Shade character miniature. Let's get building. So as you can see, this miniature is a lot different than the other ones we've been working on with this project because it is a resin miniature and it's a cast resin. It's not a 3D print. We have the cast one from the Edge of Insanity box. So we're going to have to be very careful with this because resin tends to be fairly fragile. So I've got my Army Painter snips here. I'm just going to be very careful in snipping and applying pressure to the contact points here for the cast because you can see it just snapped off really quickly. So I'm trying to not make a huge mess here and break my miniature before I even get to put it together all the way. So there we go. We got the foot cleaned up there, it's off, and then I'm going to come over here to the body. Sometimes you get lucky and it just pops off clean just like that. So we're going to take a moment here to look at the contact points, just to do a little bit of dry fitting so we know where we're going, so we know what we have to do next. And so you can see on the miniature there's this little bit here in the body where this nub here is supposed to go. So we're going to dry fit that real quick. And as you can see, the midriff touches the lower half of the body, and then you can see where the hands meet here on the body, or on the rock with the arms. Now, I will point out that the left hand does not connect very well at the wrist with the left arm, so you're going to have to kind of hold it in place when it dries. So, with this resin, because it's so fragile, I do not want to use a file to do any of my cleanup work on this. Because I'm planning on doing a lot of dry brushing and using the paints that I used on the Tormentor with the contrast, I don't want to have a lot of mold lines or stumps, because you can see here between the left wrist and the lower leg here, there's like a support cast that I don't want there. So I've got to have to clean that up. So instead of using files, I'm going to use an X-Acto knife, and just kind of wherever I have nubs, like here on the bottom, I'm going to make sure I'm going away from myself here using knife safety. But I'm not trying to cut so much as just run it across the surface of the miniature, because I want it to be nice and smooth, but I don't want to cut into the meat of the miniature. So it's just a lot of going around like this over the model. Although I will admit right here, I do got to cut in a little bit because this stump is not what I want. But again, I'm trying to be careful, cut away from myself, not injure myself. And then when I'm done, see the little stump falls away. And then I'm going to come in with my knife and just kind of clean him up real quick. Just run it over all the edges. Where I have big stumps, I can come in, use some pressure and clean it up. But the main part is that I'm just kind of carefully going over the whole miniature, just kind of scraping off mold lines, cleaning up flash from the mold itself, and moving on from there. Alright, so now that I've cleaned up this resin miniature, I'm going to glue him together. I'm not going to use plastic glue, I'm going to use super glue. I prefer to use Loctite. It's cheap, it's widely available, and it does a very good job. So I'm going to put glue at the contact points here and the base of the hips and the wrists. Not too much though, because I got to hold this in place. I don't want to stick my hands to the miniature. And then we apply a little bit of pressure on the left hand to get it to go onto that left wrist. Just like that, folks, you have a Nightstalker Shade built. Now, the one thing I will remind you before you go out and paint it is that because it is resin, and this applies for pewter or lead miniatures, the metal miniatures, as well as some of the plastics, it's always wise, especially with resins, because of the chemicals they use to get the model to come out of the mold, to wash these in warm soapy water and then dry them off before you try to apply any kind of paint to them, because the chemicals and the paint do not interact very well, and you'll spend a lot of time fighting those chemicals trying to get the paint you want onto your miniature. Folks, that is how you build a Firefight Kings of War Nightstalker Shade from Mantic. And if you want to know more about Firefight, Mantic, or Kings of War, please visit Phoenix Gaming YouTube channel. There, my buddy Chris and I cover Firefight, Kings of War, and many other games in our new podcast, Win That Way. Finally, I'd like to take a moment to thank Purple Planet for the use of their music. And until next time, I am Bailey from Dankless Wargaming. And remember, don't miss your mark when it gets dank after dark.